noise.
Welcome back to the next part of this Truth and Rhythm episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. If you've already done so, please share it with friends. Also become a member by joining Truth and Rhythm on Patreon, or consider donating at funkinstuff.net. Thank you so much for your interest and support. Enjoy. What happened, why did the players part with Mercury? And then when they did that one Arista record, I know Diamond was part of it. I'm not sure. I don't remember if you were or not.
I was.
Okay.
If you'll see that one Arista record and you look at the cover of that record, you'll notice that Billy Beck is not on that cover, nor am I. And there was only, I don't know, everybody was not on the cover of that particular thing at the time. Was at the time that happened, we, all three of us, Diamond, Beck, and I, we had all recorded on that record, Everybody Up. And we recorded on it, but there was a little turmoil going on with something about Satch wanting to leave, and there being some sort of situation between Mercury, some of the higher ups, and what was going on business wise is concerned. And at that particular time also, I was going through a thing with a Satch as far as being able to actually get my contracts, and because of the fact that I hadn't gotten my contracts for the group, and they were actually 2 years behind, to tell you the truth. And Diamond and Beck, they were not happy about it. Sugarfoot was not happy about it because they felt like I was being slighted, and things came down to a point where Diamond and Billy Beck said, well, if you're not going to treat Chet right, you're not going to have us to be here to work. And so we basically quit. And in doing so, it led to us doing the Shadow albums and what have you. But at that time, there was strife as far as things that we were trying to get done business-wise, and as far as what I believe, the leaders of our situation had in mind for what they wanted to do for the group. It caused us to split there, and in doing so, some of us found, things out about ourselves that basically said, hey, we are worth everything that we think we're worth, as far as this situation is concerned. But, if it's not going to be done equitably and done, properly for everybody that's concerned, then we're not going to be involved with it. And so we took a turn and left, But all of this, as far as, the way that these things happened, there was nothing malicious about any of it, because, a lot of times you hear people say, well, there was creative differences and things like that. And, people didn't want to, so-and-so felt like he, wanted to do something on his own and things like, those kinds of things come up. But, there was nothing ever malicious as far as our particular, involvement was concerned. We were just trying to, get what was due and, be correct about it. That's about it,
Well, from the outside looking in, it was just a shame to fans like myself. I felt like the band should have continued to be at a level that like Earth, Wind and Fire was still being at, and
Mm-hmm.
Kool and the Gang the way they came back, and the Commodores
Mm-hmm.
were still big then, and the Ohio Players were like at that level or even a little above. And I assumed at the time that the label was failing the group. I didn't know what was going on. So
Yeah, there were some things going on with the label at the time because there were some folks at Mercury that I think some of the higher ups in our organization really had some tension with, and those things, for the most part, those particular kinds of things were kept from guys like Beck, Diamond, and myself, and Sugarfoot. And see, all of it came to light. And when it did, there happened to be this situation where, well, I don't know if we're all going to be here for this now, because things don't seem to be right, you know. And with them being like that, the fact that some folk were thinking that there were individuals who were not doing the rest of the individuals in the band correctly, you know. And basically, Scott, I'd say the majority of that was really about me. The fact that Chet hadn't gotten his contracts, he hadn't been put in particular things that he had worked on and what have you, and Diamond and Beck and Sugarfoot said, no, this is not correct, and we won't stand for this. And it being that way, we parted there for a little bit. But everybody realized that the biggest thing that ever happened to any of us was the Ohio Players. The best thing that ever happened to us was the Ohio Players. Now, the Ohio Players, their history and what have you goes back a long way. And there are individuals who started in that particular group and what have you, and people who came through that group who didn't see anything that we saw, as far as fame, fortune, or any of that.
were you also involved with Phaso?
Um, just as a friend, I didn't do anything as far as, their recording or anything like that. But it, at one particular time, Phaso was going through a thing with their, I guess, then manager, who was Clarence, and they rebelled. And when they did that, Satchel had Diamond, Billy, and me go in the studio and do some recording that was for Phaso.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as anything actually, being something that became of note or anything like that, no, we never did. Because Phaso, they had their particular trajectory, and we had ours.
Well, I was looking through your credits, and I saw you listed also for Jar of the Ground by Junie. Is that something that
Yep, yep. And Scott, it's funny. I couldn't tell you what that song sounds like, To Save My Soul.
It's good. It's a good song.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what it sounds like. All I know is that when we did it in Cincinnati, Ohio, and that was late '70s, early '80s, maybe somewhere in there. That's about it.
Um, so the Ohio Players did continue on with Sugar and with some other guys, and
Yeah,
on
they
Boardwalk
did.
Records. And did you ever like check in on them, or what was the relationship like at that point?
At that particular time, we were doing Shadow.
Uh-huh.
And Sugarfoot, and I think the Ohio Players at that particular time did something with this guy. I think his name was Dimples
Richard Dimples
Field.
Fields, yeah.
Yeah, Dimples Field. They did a couple of albums with him, and we were so involved in Shadow until it was a situation where we just said, well, we're doing this particular thing. The best of luck to everybody, you know. Yeah.
And so as time wore on, what happened with you? I mean, at some point, the Ohio players came back and you guys got back together. But how did that kind of like ebb and flow and come together after?
Um, at the particular time when things like actually we had to abandon Shadow because we had fulfilled our three album contract with Elektra, and it just so happened that at the end of that, and when we had done Shadows in the Street, I happened to be out one night running my dog and fell and broke my hand, and that just did it for that, for a guitar player to break his left hand, and I did a good job of it too. And so during that particular time, I'm convalescing, trying to get heal up and everything. And Diamond and I started producing with the Troutmans, with Roger Troutman and that family. And at that time, Sugarfoot was over at the Troutmans doing some stuff because the stuff that they had done with the Ohio players, they'd scuttled that, let that go. And Billy Beck was at the Troutmans also because Billy was involved in doing Shirley Murdoch stuff, And so Diamond and I were hired to be producers, and we produced some of the acts that the Troutmans had, and we also wrote and produced some of the songs that were on the Sugar Kiss album. And while we were there, we were saying, we ought to probably put the players back together. So Diamond, Sugarfoot, and myself decided that we were going to, try to put this thing back together. So we got my cousin to play bass for us. His name is Darwin Dortch. He plays with us now.
I didn't know he was your cousin.
Yeah, he's my cousin. And the four of us, started playing, and we got Nooks, Ronald Nooks to play keyboard, and Coomba to do the percussion. So we started from that situation there, being at the Troutmans doing the Sugar Kiss album. And at the time, we couldn't call ourselves the Ohio Players. So we called ourselves the Players Band. And we worked for a while, and, we kept working and trying to pull things together and what have you. And eventually that turned into a situation where Billy Beck had been out for a while. And Beck, we all got back together again, and we did a record called the Beck album. And so from that particular situation,
Vibe Alive was on there.
Yeah, Vibe Alive. Yeah, we it's just brought it up to what it is now for the most part. I mean, we haven't recorded a studio album actually since then. We did a live album called Old School that we did down here in Atlanta. And that was the only thing that we had actually recorded that got produced and marketed, after we had gotten back together.
It's like Intersound label, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's some good live tracks on there. I like those.
We had a lot of fun doing that, man. But, we did it down here in Atlanta at the Fox Theater. And at the particular time, the horn section that we used was Paul Schaefer's, world's most dangerous band. Yeah. Those horns, they were called the Uptown Horns. And we used them on the session that we did and had a lot of fun doing it,
That Beck album, I know you guys did some shows. I saw the concert at the Strand in Redondo Beach. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I was there at that, and actually, I talked to Sugar and some of the guys after. But you know, I just I was hating that you guys didn't have horns at that show.
Yeah, we didn't have horns during that particular time. You know, there was a few years where we didn't have horns, and we kept saying we got to get a horn section, and we found a horn section in the Chicago Storm. These guys, when they started playing for us, they were Bernie Mac's part of Bernie Mac's band.
Hmm.
You know, people didn't know that Bernie Mac had a show that used to be on HBO back shortly after, you know, he started to become successful, called Midnight Mac. And in this band, he had a horn section. There was 5 of these guys. And these guys heard we were doing a show in Chicago at a place called the Parkwood Theater or something like that. And these guys had heard our live show at Old School Live in Atlanta. And these guys learned that show the night that we were going to do this show at the Parkwood. Actually, the day of, they came to our sound check. They did the sound check with us perfectly. That night, they did the show with us at Parkwood. And from that point on, we had them as our horn section. Now, they have had people come and go because there's only 3 of them now. And actually, only one of the guys who was in that particular horn section is still with us, you know. But these guys are absolutely fabulous. You know, these 3 guys that we have now, you know.
Got to have the horns, Chet.
Got to have them. That was part of what it was about, you know. Even when we were kids, you know, and we were Ohio Players fans, it just so happens that in the Majestics, 2 of the guys, we had 3 horns at that particular time too, but 2 of the guys were definitely Ohio Players fans also, you know. And so we knew that having horns, having a full band really, you know, made what this situation was about, you know, because there's bands that don't have horns and they sound great. But
Right.
This situation was about having a horn section along with the funk and the singing, you know.
Yeah, like, well, Cameo, for example, they had a whole horn section originally, then they got rid of them, and they made that transition well for whatever reason. Using synthesizers for them seemed to work, but the Ohio Players is just
Mhm.
different. You need
Yeah.
you need the
Yeah.
horns.
I think it's just a different kind of music, you know. Just a different kind of music, even though they, you know, did their best and they were good at it, you know, to be funksters, you know.
So through the years, you know, we lost several of the original guys. Was it a little bittersweet? You know, I don't know if that's the right term, but did you have mixed emotions? Like, you know, when somebody, you know, how'd you feel about, well, did you have a relationship with Satch when he passed on and that kind of thing?
Actually, you know, like I said, we on this particular side of it, we were never malicious about anything. We still had a relationship, but it wasn't like it was, you know, when we were all in the band together. Because when we were in the band, everybody saw each other. You know, we were basically like you could call we had a clique, you know, amongst ourselves. You know, in Dayton, Ohio. You know, if you happen to be part of this particular clique, this Ohio Players clique, that's who you ran with, you know. And we were like that. But at the time, say, for instance, when Satch passed away, you know, it wasn't like we were like just everyday boys or anything like that. But we were still friends, you know, all the way up until, you know, the time that Marshall was the last one that passed away. He passed away a couple of years ago, you know. But I I didn't have a chance to you know, attend any services or anything because I don't know if he was still in Ohio or Texas at the time. I was down here in Atlanta, you know.
Seeing those guys pass on, though, do you feel like that's made you and the other guys like Diamond and Billy, just realize that much more, how much you carry forth this important legacy?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's about keeping this thing alive for as long as it will live. The truth of the matter is that the music is going to outlive us. You know, and that's a good thing. Because if you can do something that as they say, leave some sort of legacy, that's a good thing. So, but the camaraderie and the friendship, it definitely made that tighter. Like I said, out of all of the people in the Ohio Players, Diamond and I have probably been together longer than anybody else.
And I know you did your own project a few years back, the CDF Project record, and
Oh wow, you heard about that, huh? All right, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
how'd you feel about how that came out, and what was your hopes for that?
We wanted a friend of mine, Harry McLeod. He and I basically did that. We had help from a few other guys like Diamond and Billy. They played on a few things, but basically, Harry McLeod and myself did just about all of that. I did all of the singing on it. You know, lead and background. Like I did all of that, but. I really wanted when we started doing this stuff. I really wanted to get Beck and Diamond involved because there's a particular thing about the way that they play and the way we play together that translates into something real beautiful. And some of the songs that are on the CDF project that Diamond and Billy Beck are playing on, when they first heard them, they sounded a certain way. After they played on them, they went to a whole nother level, and it was like, that's what I've been talking about, that kind of stuff there. But, as a matter of fact, still involved in making music, just like Beck and the other guys, still involved in it. That C-Dub project is funny, it it did a few things. It let us know that it's possible to be able to do something and at least enter into the charts in a certain way and get a little recognition. But how things are, it takes a lot of money to move things. And this was a project that was basically done out of pocket here. So I'm sort of proud of it, because it let me know that it's possible if you put your mind to it that you can do some things and they sound good. The one thing that I was most proud of about doing that CDF project is that for every review that we got on that, there was never anything about, man, the mix sucks. There was never anything. There was never anything like that. It was always about, it sounds good. The production values and everything were up. And that's basically what we were trying to do. Now, as you get older, some of your talent may, go by the wayside and what have you. And some of, the things that you could do when you were 25 don't happen anymore at 50. But, but I'm most proud of that,
Well, sometimes things get better though,
Sometimes
sometimes,
they do,
yeah.
like the wine. Yeah, sometimes they do. I can say that my knowledge and understanding of how to put music together definitely got better. Because playing with the players and what have you, and the things that we used to do in the studio back in the day, some of that stuff, and we still use those particular values and concepts and what have you to this very day, as far as making music.
I want to mention a few tracks on that I particularly enjoy and see how you feel about them. Sunday,
Someday Sunday, yeah,
funky with
yeah.
the voice box, a little bit of that.
Yep. The first time I'd ever done that, Yeah,
That
first
was
time I'd
fun.
ever
And
did.
Tell Me is a jam.
Yeah, Tell Me. Harry McLeod really loved Tell Me because he said it reminded him of the sort of operatic thing that the Funkadelic used to do. You know, when Funkadelic and Parliament used to sing and you know do the things, it was sort of like that. So yeah,
like on Knee Deep or something like that.
yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah. And then Ride was a definite roller coaster kind of throwback.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, one thing I tell Harry about the way we recorded that was that even though it's computer and electronica, as they called it, we played everything. We played, you know, every particular thing, and just like we did back in the day when we were recording up at Paragon Studios, we played the track all the way through.
Mm.
You know, we start, and when we got to the end of the track, that's when it was over. And you know, if it needed some editing and stuff like that, we'd go back and edit. But basically, it was live playing on what they call electronica. You know, we'd have to have a drum track that was set down for us. But when it came to playing, you know, the instruments and singing, it was basically live. You know, and that, you know, that's sort of where we are, you know, as far as musicians and, you know, guys that love music and what have you. I hate, you know, right now that the world is in the situation that it's in because, you know, live music is something that's almost like, hey, we used to hear about that, you know.
Yeah, unless you're trying to do it like we're talking right now,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot of acoustic guitar in that too. I'm thinking maybe a throwback to the Mickey Mouse guitar.
Now, I can tell you something as far as acoustic guitar and what have you. My friend Harry McLeod, he played most of the acoustic guitar because I told him, I said, Harry, you know, we've been friends. The two of us, we have been friends since we were in kindergarten.
Hmm.
Now, here we are, gray-haired old men. You know? but we have been friends since then. And he plays good guitar. As a matter of fact, I'm his teacher. You know, that you know, Harry says from time to time that I taught him how to play guitar. I said, no, you could play. I just showed you a thing or two, you know. But he's the guy that's playing most of the acoustic guitar on those things, you know.
Well, props to him for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you have a favorite Ohio Players album or track?
Shucks, it's probably Heaven Must Be Like This because, you know, just because of the way it makes me feel, you know. I know, you know, they have charged me with being the guy who sings Sugarfoot's parts and what have you. And I've been the guy that they used to call me the utility man because if something went down and it was about singing and playing, they said, well, we know Chet can do it, you know. And so I've been charged with that as far as Sugarfoot's. But I always say, I am not Sugarfoot. I will never be Sugarfoot. I'm not trying to be Sugarfoot, but I will try to do him justice, you know. And that song right there is one that does something for my soul, you know. It does something for my soul, and I think it did something for Sugars and Billy Beck and Diamond and the rest of the players when they first recorded it, you know.
I loved, you know, just another element that was so great about the band is letting those songs run longer, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. You know, it's a funny thing now. You know how I don't, I'm really not into the way they do music anymore because for a while there, you know, you could buy an album or a CD or whatever it was at the time, and there'd only be one song on the thing that had 12 songs on it. You know, be one song. I can remember the first time that I bought Chicago Transit Authority. Man, I played it both albums just continuously. Wore the needle out because you know there was concept from the very beginning to the end, you know. And so things like that I miss, you know, when it comes to like, well, you know, you have to make your records be within that 3 minute format so they can hit, the programmer's timetable and stuff like that. And it's like, man, they used to make records. We used to make records that was 7, 8, 9 minutes long, you know. One side of an album would only have 1 or 2 songs on it, stuff, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Skin Tight was, I think, 6
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah.
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 So before the pandemic hit, how would you describe shows currently for the Ohio Players? If when we come back from this, hopefully you guys can get out again, and what would people expect to see and hear?
Oh, I can tell you, Scott, before this situation happened, I've been having a great time, and I think the band had been having a great time too, because most of our shows, they were hitting at some of the best we've ever done, as far as sound, execution, as far as the musicians, and the crowd response and stuff like that. We did the Taste of LA about, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago. I got a picture on my phone of this thing, and we were on the street. I forget what street it was, but there was a drone shot that was taken above the stage of the audience, and as far as you could see in that picture on that street, people, as far as you could see. And it had a great show that day. Outside LA, it had to be close to 90 degrees or something like that. But man, people loved it. And like I mentioned that thing about, the Hollywood Bowl, that being a great show. But right now, the way I can say before the pandemic hit, that the Ohio Players are probably hitting on all cylinders, and really burning jet fuel.
High octane.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Well, and you guys came out with that track Reset a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What are the prospects for an album or more music? Or
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Actually, we do have other music that we recorded along with that Reset, and things happen to spiral into what they have spiraled into right now. It caused us not to be able to get through recording everything, but we do have maybe 6 or 7 other tracks. The flip side of Reset was called We Can Work It Out, and I think that was a great song there, But yeah, we had expectations of releasing an album, and we were going to call the album Reset, and it's still possible, because you know how it is as far as the song is concerned. You may have heard it 10 years ago, but the world hasn't heard it yet, so it could be brand new to them. Long as your instrumentation and stuff doesn't sound dated, and if it does sound dated, make sure it's good.
Yeah. Well, I thought, that sound was more Ohio Players than when you guys did Back,
Yeah, it was, and when we did Back, we had some influence from the guy that owned the record company at the particular time. His name was Chet Willis, and he basically sort of did what was starting to happen to the group at Mercury, as far as people outside of the group saying that they wanted to put in their input into what we were recording, and they felt like, well, since I have money interest in this and controlling money, then this is the way things should be. And it's like, no, we have to record who we are. We have to do what it is that we know how to do. I know during that Back album, we had one heck of a time with a back and forth between Chip and the band about Vibe Alive, of all songs. That particular song, we had a heck of a back and forth about that. But Reset was a little bit more back to what we were doing, more so than the Back album. you
Yeah,
know.
so it was so great to hear
Yeah,
that, and I
yeah,
just hope we can hear more.
yeah, yeah. Well, some of these other songs that we recorded with that are like that. They are like that. And that was our intent, when we did it, because it was like, shucks, when we did the back album, we didn't have a horn section. We have a horn section, and we've had these guys since actually 1996.
So there's some good continuity right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Now, what about, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, because I love the band so much, but I don't feel like they've ever gotten enough credit. And I think that has carried through to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame situation. How do you feel about that? And what would you like to see happen?
Well, hopefully one day, we can be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Um, I do feel that some of the credit and recognition has not been given to the band for whatever reason. I really couldn't say, because I do know that this band has influenced a generation or two of musicians, and rap, things like that. They've used sampled our music to death. And some of the recognition that could have been given to the band is probably yet to come. I think, I do believe that, mankind will one day say, these guys weren't too bad, you know. Yeah, be, and at least say, well, we gave it all we had, and that's usually all we got. We give it all we got.
Well, a group like you said is so influential, and to different groups of musicians, like the rappers, of course, and of
Hmm.
course soul and funk, but also even rock. You have guys like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Soundgarden, and people like that covering Ohio Players songs like "Fop" and
Yeah,
"Love Roller Coaster" and all that. I mean, they influenced even rock bands.
yeah. It's funny. Some of the younger audience that we have now, I mean, do love roller coaster. They say, "Oh, that's a Chili Pepper song." And we say, "Yeah, it's theirs." Yeah.
That kills me, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. But life has been good, Scott. With the ups and downs, I cannot complain. It would be wrong for me to complain. It wouldn't be right, because life has been good. Even though I think there's some things that I still need to happen for me. Uh, a lot has, you know.
I'm
Yeah,
so glad.
a lot has.
I'm so glad for it too, because you've brought so much more musical joy to all of us, and continue to do so. So, I mean, thank you so much for all you've given us, Chet.
Hey, thanks for being there, man. Yeah, thanks, because if it wasn't for people like you, they wouldn't even know, some of this stuff that we're talking about now. You're gonna let them know, and they'll see, they'll have a better understanding as to what it was. Now, anything else, all they have to do is go put on the music. It'll speak for itself.
Absolutely. What's the
Yeah.
best way for people you think to keep up with the group nowadays?
Well, um, actually, nowadays, there's a few things that's going on. First of all, we're happy for airplay, because if nobody, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, you're dead. And so, first of all, we can say that we're thankful for airplay, but airplay has come to this band as a result of having something worthy of being played. And so, as far as them keeping up with us, if they can, just stay on that. We do have an initiative going right now, as far as there's a group of people out of Dayton that have put up a petition for the Ohio players to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we're looking, for that as far as, on Facebook and social media, as far as, getting signatures to say that, we stand behind the fact that these guys should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So we'll see how that goes, And we've had a couple things happen good for us, man. As a matter of fact, in Dayton, Ohio, and it just so happens this is a family thing. My brother and a few other people have started. Well, they've gotten, I guess, I forget what to call it, but anyway, they're going to name a street the Ohio Players Way in Dayton, Ohio, and it's basically on a street that our studio used to be on in Dayton, Ohio. So come either this spring or this fall, they'll go through all of the ceremonial things and what have you, and do that for us, But that's a local thing when it comes, But still, there's quite a few people in Dayton who've had streets and boulevards and ways and things named after them also. So, but this will be the first for something like this,
That's great. That's great. And is there an intersection with Sinister Way?
Yeah, I'm going to tell my brother about that. That's something to think about.
Or Shadow and the Ohio Players intersect,
Yeah. They intersect right there at Sinister Way. Absolutely. Uh-huh.
Hey, been so much fun talking to you, Chet. Thank you so much, and continued good health and carrying forth with the music and just all that you do, man.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks, man. I'm going to repeat something that Billy said. We got to meet one day. We got to meet, man, because you keep this alive for us, and we appreciate that. Most definitely do. Yeah, we appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Truth in Rhythm. A big thank you goes out to our guest as well as to you, the viewer and listener. Also, much gratitude to Pleasure for supplying the show's funky opening and closing music. As a reminder, you can always access the complete list of linked shows by episode at funkandstuff.net. I urge you to support this program and receive the extra benefits along with that by subscribing to the Funk and Stuff channel on YouTube and sharing it with funk, R&B, and jazz lovers, joining Truth and Rhythm's membership program at Patreon, submitting a donation at funkandstuff.net, buying Everything is on the One, the First Guide to Funk book at Amazon, shopping at the Funky Things store for cool merchandise at funkandstuff.net, and linking through funkandstuff.net for all of your Amazon purchases. In addition, if you're an artist or anyone seeking proven, results-oriented professional marketing, PR, writing, or editing consultation or production, check out the media services section at funkandstuff.net. Also, I encourage you to drop me a line at scottg@funkandstuff.net. I love the feedback, suggestions, guest requests, appearance and sponsorship inquiries, and just talking about my favorite subject, groove-based music. For now, and as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying, keep on vibing to the rhythm of the one.